Meeting to order. It is August 10th, 2021. This meeting was scheduled for 3:45 p.m. I'm calling it to order at 3:52 p.m. This is a special meeting for the Windsor Unified School District. And can we have a roll call, please, Jen?
Stephanie Ahmad.
Here.
Rich Carnation.
Here.
Bill Adams.
Here.
Eric Heights.
Here.
Malinali Lopez. And Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Here.
Thank you. I'll now move on to item 1.2 and do the flag salute. I'll go ahead and start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Any adjustments to the agenda? Don't think so. All right, public comment. We did not receive any public comment for this meeting beforehand or any requests to attend and give public comment. So there is none, and we will proceed to section 2 and item 2.1. So this is, okay. Oh, go ahead.
Thanks, Stephanie. So hello. We are here today to entertain an update to Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 6158 regarding independent study. As you probably know, particularly for those of you who are parents in our district, Assembly Bill 130 was signed into law July 9th, 2021. And requires that school districts offer independent study to any family who wants to take advantage of it, particularly under these uncertain COVID times and a lack of vaccination for kids under 12, it needed to be made available. So it includes the differences from pre-independent study to what the update to the policy is today that we're requesting. It includes a parent notification component, which has gone out. It includes a master agreement requirement for conference and to update the board policy around these new requirements under AB 130 for apportionment purposes. So in order to basically generate funding, this policy has to be updated by the board prior to the first day of school, hence the need for the special board meeting. So thanks for availing yourselves for that. I'm hoping that you were able to take a peek at it. If not, I'm happy to entertain any questions. It's pretty straightforward.
Lisa, I have a question.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it specifically addressed in the policy, but it seemed in the letter that went out, the several page letter. I'm concerned about sort of the revolving door is when a student and for their family decides they'd like to pursue the independent study and they're doing it remotely. It appears that if, I just wondered what the sequence is. Are they committed for the term? What's the phasing back in or out? How is that going to work? And can we, if it would be valuable, you think, can we make that a little bit more rigorous, for lack of a better term, so that we maybe avoid the revolving door back and forth? Or is that something that we would like to greatly incentivize kids to come back in to the classroom? So that's my question is.
Yeah, so for the legislation, we can write the master agreement for one school year. Used to be that you had to re-up it every semester, every 6 months. Now we can write them for 1 year. And it also indicates that in terms of leaving independent study to go back to in-person instruction or vice versa, once the parent notifies us, we have 5 school days to make that happen. So the downside and what we'll walk their parents through during the pupil parent educator conference is that the platform that we will use in independent study is called Edgenuity. It is standards aligned. It offers A through G, all that good stuff, but it does not mirror what classroom-based instruction will look like. So one of the things that parents and families will need to understand is that in the event that they make a decision, or for that matter, we make a decision. So let's say that a student is struggling to keep up and they're not submitting assignments and they're not attending their synchronous and live instruction time, then we may have to revisit and determine that independent study isn't a successful placement for them and recommend that they return to in-person instruction. So either way, it needs to be with the understanding that the switch either from in-person to independent study or independent study back in person will also require a change in what the curriculum delivery will be. And so parents will need to understand that. And I'm hoping that that in and of itself will serve as a deterrent to want to bounce back and forth.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions I can answer?
I have it's kind of a question, kind of a comment. I just wanted to walk through the attachment that was included on the agenda. And I think you already covered most of the key points, both in the agenda item and in what you just talked about, but I just wanted to walk through it with you so I could make sure I'm understanding what I'm seeing. I see some parts crossed off, which I think is the old board policy that we're replacing.
It's actually not, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
There are two forms. This is the current CSBA model language
Oh, okay.
brought in last month. And for Windsor Unified, we have made the choice to offer program-based independent study and not course-based independent study.
Got it.
Independent study requires specific credentialing that makes it much more prohibitive for us to be able to offer specific courses to specific students simply because it becomes a credentialing nightmare. If we offer program-based, then any teacher basically we can put in, because we've already got prescribed curriculum that comes with on-demand tutoring, and any teacher can then oversee any student in the program. So that's why the recommendation is to delete the course-based portion from Windsor Unified's board policy.
Got it. Got it. So this is the model. Oh, okay. I see in the top right-hand corner, this is the model language. And then we're just selecting what portion of that we are going to adopt. Got it.
And I apologize, this is a little different. I'm still getting used to the new way in which we're going to update board policy. And so you can see that I kind of had to go old school and hand cross it out and scan it in and upload it, because I'm still working through how we make the changes on the back end, the process that we used to use.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for walking through that. That was helpful.
You bet.
Rich?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one. I think Eric has one too. So the way this is, Lisa, I've heard from some parents that they're not even part of our district. And if I understand this right, they would like to become part of our district, but they want to basically use our independent study program as almost like a homeschooling type, where the parents work with the kids. These are actually kids they're not in high school age. These are younger kids where they don't want their kids necessarily going back to school yet, for a variety of different reasons. So with the way I read this, I think that's what this accomplishes, is letting parents have their kids do independent study at home. Parents can help them with their studies, but they would basically be a Windsor student, correct?
Correct. So part of the legislation includes the opportunity for school districts for whom it would be cost prohibitive to offer independent study because they're little and just have maybe a little handful of kids that want that. They can request a waiver from the county superintendent of schools. So as part of doing that, they're still on the hook for offering some kind of a program to their kids. So we are in the process currently of negotiating MOUs with a number of other districts, surrounding districts, who we will offer an interdistrict transfer request process and then allow them to apply to our independent study program. And those MOUs will come to you on the 17th as we get them in from other districts, because they require board approval on both sides, the sending and the receiving district.
So with that, why so thanks. We need to clarify that, or I need to understand a little better. So Little Rich Carnation is in Santa Rosa, doesn't want to go to school, and I want to put him in Windsor's independent study program. 5th grader, 6th grader, or 7th grader, whatever, something like that, right? So that kid would do an interdistrict transfer into Windsor and become a Windsor student, and then be in Windsor's independent study program. I didn't catch the MOU thing between the school district part. What was that?
So I like your example, but I'm going to swap out Santa Rosa for Healdsburg.
Okay.
So we've already done a lot of behind the scenes work with school and college legal to get a template that we're all comfortable with. And so Healdsburg will take an MOU to their board for approval, saying, okay, for this year, we're going to send our independent study students to Windsor Unified on an interdistrict transfer, because as you know, Healdsburg is basic aid. So generally they don't want kids leaving their district, right? But for this purpose, because we need to offer them independent study, this is what we're going to do. And we, in turn, as Windsor Unified, we will have you all approve on our end saying, yes, Healdsburg, we will take your independent study students and your ADA for each of those students that come over to our program.
Rich, part of the trick here is Healdsburg is required to offer independent study or apply for the waiver. They won't get a waiver. It's very hard to get the waiver. So they have to have an agreement in place with us. And we are allowing that because there could be a value add for us getting extra ADA, right?
Sure.
So that, I think you could still be an interdistrict transfer, say, I want to go to Windsor, and then potentially become an independent study student. But I think that what we're working on with other districts is the fact that they have to offer something, and we are being willing to be that place that offers independent study for them.
Yeah, I guess so we actually can do it either way then, where the school district has MOUs between districts, or a student would just say, hey, we wanted just a straight up interdistrict transfer, and we're going to be part of
Yes.
part of the
They would disenroll from their previous district.
right. The reason why is because depending on the age group of the kids, there are kids that might want to be in the independent study program, but they want to be a Windsor student, so that way they can participate in Windsor extracurricular stuff. And if that's an MOU and they're still a Healdsburg, in this Lisa's example, a Healdsburg student, then they would still be part of Healdsburg's district, but we get the ADA. So I believe that there are kids that were thinking of coming to Windsor anyway, but with the masks things and the different things that some parents are concerned about, they would like them to be involved in the extracurricular activities, but not necessarily attending school while the masks are needed.
So yes to all that, Rich, with one exception. If you
Okay.
take Healdsburg students, they become ours on an interdistrict transfer.
Oh, they do. So, it does. So the MOU does make them an actual Windsor
Yes.
student. Oh, I
Yes.
thought it was maybe just a revenue sharing thing of some sort.
No, not based on our agreement.
Gotcha. Okay, so either way, they would be a Windsor student.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just so you guys, the board needs to be aware that because this is a hold harmless year, unless we exceed, what's our number, Lisa? Do you remember the number? 4,600?
2019-20 is 4,898.
And we're somewhere around 4,600, but depend on, we'll see where we are. We'll see where we are on day one. We need to exceed that number for what Lisa just said in order for all of these transfers to actually make us revenue, because this is a hold harmless year. So our enrollment, I won't say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter for our budgeting purposes. Yes, we're getting paid at 4,800.
So they'll take the higher of the two. Is it the 2019-20 numbers or the 21-22 numbers? Whichever is higher is the one we'll get funded on.
Yeah, so we hope this works. We hope that families love us so much and they decide to stay. Right.
Yes.
I think that
Mhm.
just so the board's aware, this isn't like a big cash cow that every student we're generating an extra $12,000 for.
Not yet.
Right, but it could be in the future.
Correct.
Okay, so I think Eric has a question. I think Kai might have a comment or a question as well. I am not sure. So if I'm putting you on the spot and you didn't, you don't have to say anything. But I wanted to and then I have a few questions after. So is that a good order to go in? We'll go Eric, Kai, and then back to me.
Yeah, so Lisa, you mentioned the name of the company, Edu something. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it well. What is their model or their structure for students with an IEP or an English language learner that's not reclassified and redesignated, things like that? Are we doing justice to those groups with this program? And can you explain that a bit?
The teacher question. Thank you.
Yep,
Yes.
I don't know.
So part of the legislation, it's really interesting. It includes the ability for a district to, if they don't have an IEP team decision to provide FAPE, they can deny a request for independent study. However, Deborah has also noted that that's in direct conflict with federal regulations under IDEA. So our goal is to bring in students with IEPs who make requests for independent studies and apply the appropriate grade level content that they need and their accommodations and modifications that are already part of their IEP. And any additional add-on services, she's already got that in the works to provide those. So for example, speech and language, OT, that kind of thing. So that's the special ed side of it, the IEP side of it. The reality on English learners is that none of the vendors that we researched and had present to us provide designated or integrated ELD. So we are carefully tracking which students request independent study who are currently English learners, and we will have to provide our own custom designated and integrated ELD in addition to what their Ingenuity curriculum is.
Thank you for doing a good job tracking that. I think that's valuable and important for our families and our community to understand that.
Yeah.
If there's no other, is there another follow-up? I have something on a different matter, but
I think we're still talking about this item, but if it's, I mean,
go ahead.
if
Well, I'll ask it later. It's fine.
okay, go ahead, Kai.
I do not have a comment regarding this matter at this time right now. Thank you. though.
Okay. Well, if you do, you can speak anytime. Just let me know. I had a few questions just to clarify. Oh, I think someone. Okay, sorry. I wanted to clarify is if it sounds like one of the new requirements is a conference. Okay, and so as part of, you know what, I'm hearing my echo through someone's thing, and it's
Maybe,
distracting me, but it's okay.
If you mute, maybe that'll help, and then I can answer the question.
But it's fine. I'll be fine. I was just getting distracted by it and like wondering where it was. So that's why I was like, okay, so a conference is required. And so that's a new requirement that wasn't required before.
Here's really the letter of the law. What is required is for us to inform parents that they have a right to request a pupil parent educator conference. However, when we step back and look at all of the new requirements under the language, we made a decision to require the conference because it builds in the ability then for the site principal to walk through the master agreement that is the golden ticket, right, to get into independent study. So by virtue of the way we've set it up, yes, we've notified parents of their right, and in fact, we're actually going to require them.
I think that's really smart because of what you were talking about earlier, the implications of switching back and forth and what you have kind of what the student has been exposed to, not necessarily being aligned. So I think it's really smart, and it's going to save a lot of frustration to have that initial meeting, even though it's not necessarily like legally required. I think that's great. And then my other question was about the students transferring in from other districts. So is it only the districts that we have agreements with where we're taking those students for independent study, or is it really we would take any student if they wanted to do independent study? And then if that's the case, why have an agreement just to say like they have to come here?
Well, I think you raise a good question, Stephanie, and Rich kind of alluded to it earlier, and it got me thinking in my head, well, if a student applied to us on just a regular interdistrict transfer and then requested independent study, would we walk through the steps with them? Yeah, we would. We wouldn't deny them a placement in that program. I'm not sure that I have, Jeremy, you might be able to help on this one, the difference between what triggered the MOU. I think really what it,
Yeah,
from my
it's their-
perspective, is the ADA.
Got
well,
it.
it's also on their end. So it's not so much our end, Stephanie. We can take all the kids, but they need the MOU.
Right, because they need to show that they're complying and have
Correct.
a place where students are going. Okay,
Correct. We don't need it.
okay, got it. And then my other question is, so say we have a student who transfers in independent study, then they say they're going to switch and they have 5 days. What district do they belong to at that point?
Us. According to the legislation, they're ours. And so principals know that they will have to find a place for that student. So let's say that it's a fifth grader from Healdsburg. So, and they say, we want to come back to in-person. So now Annette Zucconi at Brooks has to find a fifth grade spot for that student for in-person learning.
Okay, great. Thanks for walking through that.
Remember
Go ahead,
that the game that you played dodgeball or whatever, keep away on the playground when you were a little kid? It's called possession is 9/10 of the law. So when we get them, we get to keep them.
Yeah, and then it's like the kid who's just holding the ball the whole time. And then, so you don't get to play because it's just, yeah, we'll be that kid. Sounds good. I think that Eric had another question on a different issue, if there aren't any more questions here on this item.
Do we need to make a motion or resolution or anything?
I
On
think
this?
we do need to vote. Yes.
So
But
if other questions, maybe ask the public real quick, Steph, if they have any comments, seeming not.
Well, we're recording, so the public is not here, but if anyone does have a question, you can email us, you can email our superintendent, email the board, we will respond. If you comment on social media, we'll where this is posted, we'll get you a response. So we're definitely open to responding to any questions that come in after the fact. Go ahead, Rich.
And these material, go ahead.
Do we, Lisa, you mentioned Hillsburg as, just so that way parents that may watch this later, Hillsburg is we're working with the Hillsburg on an MOU. Can we say what other school districts we might be working with so that way parents can hear that and then they know how to get a hold? I mean, how do parents do this?
Yeah, so we've shared MOU templates with Westside, Alexander Valley, perhaps Cloverdale, Healdsburg, Kenwood, and
Oak Grove
Oak Grove. Thank you.
and Geyserville. I know they expressed
and
interest.
Geyserville.
Geyserville as well. So
Yep.
basically all of North County.
Your NCC friends.
Yeah. And then some other districts that have reached out simply because they've heard we're willing to do this.
So no one's asked me this question yet, and I'm kind of surprised, so I'll just throw it out there. Currently for Windsor Unified students, we have about 50-ish requests
So far,
so far.
that's pretty good.
Spread how amongst the grades, Lisa?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, everywhere. The one tricky piece has been, and we still have a number of requests, is from Cali. Because it's a charter, it technically requires them to disenroll from Cali and enroll in the commensurate Windsor Unified School. So to use that fifth grade example again, if you're a Cali fifth grader and you want independent study, you disenroll from Cali, enroll at Brooks, and then request the independent study program. So that's a little bit tricky. And I thought it would maybe dissuade a number of parents because then they can't hold their spot to go back for in-person learning. They have to get back in line again. But it doesn't seem to be stopping them. They have quite a few requests.
And Lisa, maybe speak to the fact our independent study TOSA that we've modified the position for the upcoming year.
So we used to have a half-time TOSA who oversaw the independent study program, which as you may recall was Odyssey. That was the online platform, and now we've switched to Edgenuity. And due to the increase in enrollment and bringing in a handful of other districts, students, for this year, for sure, we've increased that position to a full-time position, a 1.0 full-time equivalent, with the flexibility to add students as a caseload in the event that it doesn't get as large as we, are thinking it might. But so far, it's looking as if that was a good call.
And that was done with COVID funds. It was allowable.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, any more questions on this item? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just a real quick one. Jeremy, is this a 1-year program with the state or a waiver of some sort? Or is this something that might end up being a normal option for parents?
Rich, the mandate's just this year, but it doesn't mean that independent study doesn't become a normal option for parents.
The way the board language is listed, Rich, everything would go forward beyond the 21-22 school year. The only change is that for this year only, we are given 30 days from the day school starts to get the master agreement signed off and get everybody in, because the legislation came out so late.
Yes.
Got it.
Going forward, starting the 22-23 school year, you have to have that master agreement in place in order for a student to start, and you cannot mess around with 30 days afterwards.
Cool, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve the program being talked about today.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, and then I am going to ask first for our preferential student board member vote. But I will ask all those in favor of approving this new board policy, Administrative Regulation 6158. Kai,
Yes, I move forward with this motion. Yes.
all right. And then the rest of the board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye. All right, then it is yay for our student board member, 4-0 for our board with 1 absent.
All right.
Motion
Putting this
passes.
together.
Yeah, thank you. And then I think Eric had one comment that he wanted to make before we adjourn.
Yeah, so I know it's not agendized tonight, but it may be, depending on what the timeline is, if we could get some information about AB 104. I heard about it in my district today. I was not aware of it very clearly on what it entailed as far as grade changes and units of coursework and things like that. I don't know if we've advertised on the district site for the beginning of our 15-day yet or not, but if we have, it's kind of short notice, and hopefully everybody's hearing all that information. Maybe you could send something to us, because by the time we meet, it may have expired the 15 days. I don't know.
We're good.
Would it be preferable? Do you want me to just send you what we put on the district website informationally and what we emailed to all parents so you can see it? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and it's a pretty powerful document that gives a lot of options for students, and want to make sure our families know about it if we've done special outreach or how that goes. If it's just randomly on the website, I don't think that's enough. So
No, it's not randomly on the website. It was emailed to every parent and placed on the district website as a backup location to find the information. And so far we've handled there are 3 pieces to AB 104, and we handled the pass, no pass piece and set that ball in motion because it had that tight 15-day timeline that you referenced. So far it's going okay. I think the biggest piece of confusion that I did not foresee myself, but we're needing to do a lot of extra explaining, is that some families are mistakenly believing that if their child failed a course last year, they can transfer that into a passing grade. So, no, that's not it. If it's basically for the C and D students, right? So if you got a C or a D and you would rather get a pass and not have that factored into your grade point average, then we can do that for you for any course taken during the 2021 school year. But if you failed a course that equate to a no pass. So you can't get a passing grade, but somehow that didn't quite get through in the translation. So we're doing a little bit of clarifying with families on that part.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of the new policy. So maybe send out what you shared with the families, just so that the rest of the board is aware of it and anybody watching the meeting can look for it on the website. That would be great.
Happy to do so.
Yeah, that was just gonna be my comment. If it's possible, I know families get sent some stuff. If the board, if we could get copied on those things, just because that way when the families get a hold of us and go, hey, what is this? And we go, this is what? So that'd be awesome.
So we can definitely do that, Rich. And I just want to caution you to know what you're asking for. There's a lot of information that gets pushed to families. So if you want everything, that's a big chunk of information you're going to get pushed to you. We can do it. Or if it's anything maybe that requires some information that's pushed from the district, from us, maybe that we include you on. I just want to caution you about what you're asking for.
Yeah, I know. I'm punching myself off screen. No, well, because there was a couple things at the beginning part of the year, and there was a thing that came out for the athletics the other night about the mask. And there was a bunch of stuff on Facebook about it, and I hadn't seen it yet. And so I was like, well, I'd kind of like to catch some of this stuff earlier. So at least, I don't want to use the word blindside because that's not what I mean, but just so that I'm just a little more aware, and I'm sure the other trustees are in the same boat. So yeah, if you could send us, Lisa, the stuff that the parents are going to ask us questions about.
Rich, you know what I'll do? I'll institute some sort of process where this gets filtered through either our new coordinator of district communications, Heather Bailey, or Jen. And that way we can determine, is the board going to need to see this or not? Because I think you're going to get inundated with stuff and you're going to get sick of reading all of it. So I think maybe there's some pertinent things that we need to make sure you get, and maybe filter that through somebody.
The other thing that you might want to do is I don't know that we are consistently as a board included on all district email lists. I think that maybe trustees who have been on longer were added to certain lists that trustees who were elected more recently are not on. So if we could do kind of an audit of like just maybe the tech IT, I know they have like a million things going on right now.
Nah, Brad's bored. He's got.
Yeah, I know Brad has lots of free time, so maybe he can go through the email list and see where we're added and not, because I think we just need to make it consistent, because I think there is some inconsistency that we need to fix, and if there could be like a handle that it just automatically includes all the board. So I know that'll probably take some time because it's the first week of school. And
in all transparency, Stephanie, we have this issue that we've been discussing, actually, Brad and myself already, with regard to new hires and simply our employees. So I think that it's timely, and we'll definitely check.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, with that, even though we could stay on because we enjoy any opportunity to have a meeting, I think we will go ahead and adjourn. So I will take a vote on that. I think I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Well, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Kai, I just included you with us in that one because it was, non-substantive. So we are adjourning at 4:25. Thank you so much.
Board members, will you stay on for a second after we stop this meeting, just because I
Sure.
piece of
Why don't
information.
why don't we go ahead and stop recording?
I'm going to do that now.